So I've now finished my 8-week cut, and I thought I would just go over the final results. So here you can see a visual representation from week 1 until the end of week 8, which was last week. And I did some before videos and some after videos, and I also went and got a scan. So in these visual differences, you can see the midsection is a little bit tighter, and I've also just toned up and look a little bit more muscular and more defined, even though I'm actually lighter in the second video. And then I also got a DEXA scan. So in the scan here, you can see that I've gone down from 13.2% down to 10.5. Now, my actual goal that I set for myself was to get under 10, and I didn't quite achieve that. I came pretty close, 10.5. All in all, I'm actually pretty happy with that result, because the main reason for setting that goal is because I wanted to be a little bit leaner and just wanted to feel a little bit lighter, have a little bit more energy, and just kind of get back on track, and something that's kind of sustainable all year round. So for me, that's normally somewhere around sort of 8 to 12%. Anything lower than about 8 is kind of pushing it a little bit in terms of sustainability and energy and function and that sort of thing. So I'm pretty happy about that. And the main thing of setting a goal and setting a time frame is to keep you on track, to keep things structured, and to keep things more disciplined as well. Because without something to aim for, you can kind of just be, messing around with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So to actually have a time frame and actually have a goal that you're aiming toward, the purpose of that can really drive you toward it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, just going over the changes in lean mass and also fat mass there. So I've dropped a reasonable amount of fat mass, about 2.5 kilos of fat. And I've also gone up a little bit in lean mass. Now, most of that increase in lean mass would be, as I've explained in previous video, fluctuations in glycogen and water. And so if you're a strength athlete and you haven't trained for a period of time due to injury or just taking a break or whatever, and you start training again, you're going to see increases. Now, initially, we see a little bit of a decrease, and that could have just been like when I went for my second scan, I was a little bit dehydrated, because remember, talking about these scans and processes, they're not 100% accurate. If you just don't drink any water, before your scan versus if you do drink any water before your scan, anything that doesn't count as fat mass is going to count as lean mass. So it's a little bit temperamental in terms of the state you're in, which is why I normally try and go in fasted. But even then, you're going to see fluctuations. And I think that was something important that I was talking about in other videos, is that it's important just to follow trends of data over time and not get too emotionally attached to one individual data point. Like, oh no, my lean mass has gone down a kilo and now it's like back up a couple kilos. So it's kind of just like, it's going to fluctuate, because your body can hold, up to, about a kilo of glycogen, or about 700 grams or something. And for each of those 700 grams, it's going to bind to a certain amount of water as well. So it's going to fluctuate at 1 or 2 kilos. And as well as that, if you're detraining your muscles and then retraining them, you're likely going to see an increase in size anyway after that initial decrease. And so that all makes sense to me. And so that's how I would interpret what's happening there. So all in all, it was a success. So I basically just implemented a diet structure and was quite flexible with it, but I only had a couple of cheat meals throughout that whole 8 weeks, and then implemented a training structure, which I was pretty consistent with throughout almost all of the 8 weeks, except there was 1 week there where I was just smashed with work. I was working 12, 15-hour days to get all the programs and marketing and all stuff done. So I actually skipped 1 or 2 gym sessions through that week, but I'd say throughout 7 out of the 8 weeks, I was very consistent, and I was also reasonably consistent most of the weeks with my diet as well, except for there was a few days in there, which I've already explained about those days in a previous video as well, where I went off track. So had I have stayed on track a little bit more, probably could have, got under that 10% goal that I was aiming for, but still all in all pretty good. Now, in terms of length of time for dieting, I think around that sort of 6 to 8 weeks is pretty good before you implement a strategic diet break. And I like to do that. So having a bit of a diet break for a week or two and then getting back on it. So even if you want to lose more than that, I still think having a little bit of a break, just physically and mentally, is kind of good. So you might diet for like 6-8 weeks at a time. And now it's just like, all right, I'm going to stop tracking calories, but I'm not going to blow out and go and, eat as much shit as I can in the space of a week. It's more just like keeping those habits, but just having a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flexibility without that stress and pressure of having to be so strict all the time. And I just feel that sort of just gives me a little bit of mental freedom as well, maybe a little bit more energy as well. So if I've been in calorie deficit for a significant period of time, it might bump me back up again, and then I can get back on track if I want to get leaner. However, I'm not really trying to get much leaner than where I am now. I'm actually pretty happy. So pretty much going to go into a maintenance phase. And so what that involves is sort of just bumping my calories back up just a little bit. And it also allows me a little bit more freedom, for social events, going out and all that sort of stuff. But if I start to fall off track and start to add that body fat back in again and start to feel a little bit sluggish, then, I'll obviously tighten things up again. So yeah, that's basically my 8-week cut. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed following my journey. And I'm going to be putting up some more content, and see you in the next video.